that allow you to do in your own head? If we just see the picture of somebody playing music, but we don't hear it, in your own mind, you can sub in your own favorite song. So, looking at this ancient urn, you can have that sense of, hey, I don't know what music was popular back in the day. This is ancient, but I'll just put in, my own bops. I'll just put in my own jams, and I'll be very happy. So, talking about those unheard songs, therefore, ye soft pipes, play on, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared, pipe to the spirit ditties of no tone. So he's like, doesn't matter what music was supposedly playing when that urn was created. We wouldn't like the same music anyway, necessarily. But we can plug in whatever makes us happy. So he's kind of talking about the longevity of the art also. Now, just some fun trivia to throw in here. If that's kind of a hard concept for you to wrap your mind around, why Keats is talking about appreciating a song that has no music to it, you can't hear it. Some people have suggested over the years that Keats might have had something called synesthesia. You ever heard of that? Oh, good. Yay. Which is interesting. If he did, because it definitely would help to explain why sometimes his imagery in his poetry is confusing to people that don't have synesthesia. Basically, if you have synesthesia, you kind of experience your senses in a way that other people don't. Kind of like, for instance, if you saw the color red, you wouldn't just register it as a color. It might have a sound that you connected to it too in your mind. So not only are you seeing the color, it's like you're hearing the color. And that's just the way your mind connects. And that there is kind of this blending of your senses. Or you might say, I know exactly what green tastes like. Just based on the color, it might conjure up a taste in your mouth. And it could be one that you'd be like, that is green. And that is always the taste of green. So yeah, it is this kind of blending of and unique way of experiencing your senses, and sometimes having them like overlap. You might smell something and connect it to a sound. Like if there's a scent you really like, fresh baked cookies or something like that, it might be a pleasant sound. There might be a sound in your mind that connects to that. If you smell a skunk, it might create a sense of like a dissonant chord or something. So yeah, it's an interesting experience that not a lot of people go through, but some people do. And yeah, it's been suggested that Keats had that, which is why his imagery is definitely unique. Okay. So at that point, especially if he's out here, you know, tasting sounds, he wouldn't care if you couldn't hear it, because he could still experience it with another sense. Fair youth, beneath the trees thou canst not leave thy song, nor ever can those trees be bare. It's clever what he did right there. He has leave, as in go away, and then the next line he's talking about a tree. So then it's like, oh, leaves. Clever. Go for it. All right. Then over on page 516, bold lover, never, never canst thou kiss. Well, how could you be a bold lover if you can't kiss? Well, that's the whole point. He's saying that on this urn, time stands still. The guy who is carved or painted on this urn, who looks like he's chasing the girl, he's never going to catch her. It's eternal, the chase. This moment that is frozen in time. Though winning near the goal. So yeah, close. Yet do not grieve, she cannot fade, though thou hast not thy bliss. Forever wilt thou love, and she be fair. So, okay, true, you can't catch her, but you're immortalized together, and you're never going to get older because of this moment that is captured. So sure, it sucks that you're never going to catch her, but then again, some people just really like the chase anyway. And the chase ending might be kind of disappointing. So be happy. And keeping in mind that Keats, again, knew that he was dying because of tuberculosis. That idea of being frozen in time as a young lover might have been kind of appealing to him. Also, Keats had a woman that he was in love with. Her name was Fanny Braun. Unfortunate name, but anyway, he was in love with this woman named Fanny Braun. And so, you know, that idea being kind of frozen in time, because he knew he couldn't marry her, because he knew he was dying. And it wasn't going to do her any good to marry her when he knew he was dying, because it's not like he had this huge estate that he could leave her. And then she would have found it much more difficult to get married a second time after he was dead, because she would have been viewed as used goods, and she wouldn't have had, you know, a big estate, a lot of property from her first marriage. So as much as he loved her, he couldn't marry her, not knowing, you know, knowing that his circumstances were not going to help her out if he married her. So this concept of being kind of frozen in time and being immortalized as the forever young lovers probably appealed to him a little bit. Ah, happy, happy vows. We're back to, it says, beauty is truth. He's telling the urn, you should feel pretty good about yourself. Maybe he feels like the urn is feeling useless. Maybe he feels like the urn is feeling like it never experienced life fully. Huh. Maybe that urn is a little symbolic of Keats. to die at a young age and never fully experience some things that others would experience. So, now, let's go back to those 10 key characteristics, and let's see what we can put together as far as the characteristics we've already looked at. Okay, so I'm abbreviating. Glorification of nature. What aspects of nature in this poem were brought up and glorified and praised, and hey, isn't nature cool, and all of those aspects of it? Where did nature come into play in Ode on a Grecian Urn? What are some nature things that Keats mentions? Trees, leaves.
I'd like to say that at least when he was talking about like, I have the leaves that can actually leaves or everybody's free.
Good. So let's call that eternal spring or summer. Because yeah, we're not going to get to autumn. We're not going to lose those leaves. Good. Anything else that fit into this category of nature?
He was talking about mountains and skies and rivers and seas.
I'm just going to put mountains, etc. Because yeah, there were references to like the scene painted or carved, and yes, they were images of natural, things in nature. Okay. He also at one point was talking about the animal sacrifice. So we put animals there. Okay. So glorification of nature. It's not just nature, it's the glorification of it. Because again, all of those things, he's like, "Ooh, aren't you happy that you're not dying? Because you are frozen in this moment." Okay, then happiness, and he repeats happy. Yeah, happy, happy, happy. Yeah. Any other emotions that kind of come across in this? That he says should be accepted, maybe? I mean, happiness is one of the biggies, that's for sure. But at the very beginning, when this poem started out, why is he talking to the urn anyway? He is. Mhm. Okay. He assumes that the urn is sad, that it didn't get used, but he's like, don't be sad about that. Like, this urn that he's talking about is what, like a lot of times when you look at things in a museum where you see pictures of antiquities, they're all broken up. They're in chunks. It's like, oh, I found this little tiny piece of pottery. Yay. You know, like, woo, I found something. This is completely undamaged. And he's like, you should be happy about that. Don't be sad. Okay, so I realize happiness is already up here, but I think don't be sad is a legitimate thing to put there too. That it's like, because there are plenty of things you could be between sad and happy. Maybe he's suggesting be content, which is its own set of things, feelings. All right, so then celebration of artistic creativity and imagination. That was a great abbreviation. Yes, good. The art. I mean, yeah, he's describing whether this is a painting or a carving on this urn, because again, we saw examples of both. Yeah, so, and it kind of suggests maybe carving toward the end. But yeah, all of just that description of what's going on in that urn and on that urn. He's celebrating it. In these pictures on the urn, somebody's playing an instrument. Oh, while we're at it. Music. So that's in there too.
Stop.
So the whole poem, creativity and imagination, the fact that he is imagining